Hi and hello, and welcome to, I think, episode 25 of Going Over. I'm Fred Slow. Alongside me, Saleh Taylor. Saleh, welcome, brother. How are you?
I'm moving. I'm grooving. I'm grateful. How you doing? How you
Oh,
feeling?
I never complain, man. I'm so fortunate in every single way.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
wildly fortunate. It has been a crazy week in the world of pro wrestling. We will talk about that, obviously, at length. That's going to be a lot of fun. Also, Saleh, and this is the thing. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I'm so sorry. I went to open a recording because we had audio recording issues last time, but it's shooting me the feedback, so we won't do it.
There
It
it
has
is.
been a wild week of pro wrestling. Speaking of pivots, we'll make one here with that. As there was this big gauntlet on Monday Night Raw last week, and Sami Zayn ends up winning this big gauntlet on Monday Night Raw, and the social media audience was not about this life. It was a shot for an opportunity in the at WrestleMania, obviously, and for whatever reason, Sami Zayn has had a fall from grace. Saleh, what is going on?
So here's the big question from this. To further explain this, actually, Sami Zayn beat Chad Gable, which
Yeah,
was a big surprise to everyone because everyone's pushing for Chad Gable, and the gauntlet is actually going towards who's going to fight Gunther at
right.
WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. So um, a lot of people are wanting they just want Chad Gable to win to go all the way, and but then Sami Zayn on Ramadan. So he's been fasting for 18 hours, by the way.
Right.
So, takes the W over Chad Gable, and the crowd, the crowd at the house, they popped, but the internet crowd,
Did not love it. You're absolutely right. And there's an interesting thing that happens every so often in pro wrestling. Every couple of years, I think the last big one was the Daniel Bryan push. I think there's something currently going on with Cody Rhodes as well, to where the fans will just pick like a underdog hero. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They'll just really put like an exuberance. It was Kofi Kingston a couple of years ago. If you remember that with
mhm.
Kingston Mania, and that was or Kofi Mania, Kingston Mania, Kofi Mania, and it was going to be allegedly Mustafa Ali before that, which obviously didn't work out because he took that orbital bone thing. But the audience can often dictate a story in the world of pro wrestling, and a little bit we might end up seeing that with and I would already kind of assumed it was going to be a three-way between Gunther, Chad Gable, and Sami Zayn, because I don't think the WWE wants Gunther to lose clean. Period. I just don't think that's a thing they want to happen. But with that said, the audience, the WWE universe, is going to feel like they're leading the story again, just the way you saw with Daniel Bryan or Kofi Kingston a couple of years ago.
So here's the thing that I've always been curious about. A lot of the time, the chase is far better than when the dog
Oh,
gets ambushed or
100%.
anything like
Yeah.
that. Everyone loves a good underdog story, but what happens when you are the top man, when you are the top person? Kofi Kingston, he got squashed in like 7 seconds or 11 seconds to Brock. Daniel Bryan, he kind of fell from grace when he got the title. It was a great, beautiful WrestleMania moment, but like the months after, when the underdogs were to get have their moment, they just kind of fallen off because
Mhm.
they were so focused on the chase, they didn't know what to do after. This is what I fear for Cody Rhodes, and this is where like the chase of it, the chase, the finish the storyline that's going on for 2 years now, and it's a beautiful thing. It's great, and the crowd is behind it. But can Cody be the top guy? And like, so going back to Sami Zayn, Gunther, and Chad Gable, um, so here's the first question I was trying to get to: is the crowd always right?
Oh well,
Is
that's interesting, right? Because I think the crowd is so often utilized in the story, right?
Yeah,
You and I have been so fortunate to be some big events. I'm going to go to WrestleMania in a couple of weeks,
yep,
and as part of those big events is the crowd reaction in place. The crowd reaction you see in the stadiums. We'll go back to that Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 at New Orleans, where oh my gosh, that was so long ago, dude. Time flies. Like
10
it
years
just kind
ago.
of hit me just right now. So WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans, and it's the triple threat, and it's got Batista in it, and is it Triple H? Or no, he had to beat Triple H to get there, and it's Randy Orton.
Yep.
So anyway, so they're all fighting each other, and there is no way the WWE is going to miss the opportunity for the Superdome full of fans to be doing that yes chant, right?
Yeah.
After he wins, that yes chant, that highlight, it's still shown today. You know, that highlight, although that was the match itself was a little one-upped by Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. If you remember, that was the end of the streak.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
But if you recall, that big moment, which they still show, you know, on highlight reels of WWE, and I think you can't necessarily match that moment. And that's the problem with Daniel Bryan. I'm not saying Daniel Bryan's post, you know, the Raw after Mania, his little run into SummerSlam, I'm not saying that was bad, but it's not that moment. You know, and that moment is so special and unique. And I don't feel that the WWE universe currently on night 1 or night 2 of WrestleMania would give you that reaction to Chad Gable. Like, and I mean, I've seen Chad Gable wrestle at a lot of house shows, and I've seen Chad Gable wrestle in the middle of Raw, and I've seen Hulu cut his matches out of a lot of Raw. You know, he may be excited by the internet wrestling community. And by the way, you have to interact with the internet wrestling community a lot. We have this show. We host and run Duke City Championship Wrestling. Like, internet wrestling community is weird. And I think if you take a handful of really vocal, like at least the minority of fandom, and let them dictate the product that you're creating, you're probably making a bad decision. But if you have 18,000 people who paid to be inside of a venue, or in Philadelphia, what's it going to be, 65,000 or something crazy, they said?
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, respond to them. Like, give them the pickle. You know, like that's fine with me. But I'm not at all going to get fired up over a 4chan or a Reddit or a whatever message board over so-and-so 42069's favorite wrestler.
So here's another question for us, like, because we as performers, as for those of us in the industry for professional wrestling especially, we live and thrive off of getting the reaction. The crowd keeps us honest in the moment.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that you, especially because you're in the owners group for DCCW, you guys have to think ahead though. Yes, in the moment, the crowd is reacting the way we're you know, we want them to react, and they're getting the, you know, that's working. But, you know, if we pay off too soon, or if we give a big payoff without having any future plans,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Well, and that's the disruption we're talking about, right? Because, you know, I think the only time you pay off early on any storyline is when you have to hurry another. And again, I'm just using my opinion as like a lowly like promotion owner. Like, I've never been in the ring. I'm not a wrestler. You know, I don't know the storytelling of a match. I know what it looks like. If you ask me to build it, I would say I need some help, Mr. Happy. I need some help doing this. I like come over and help me. But for this, and we'll use like Cody as an example, the problem with the crunch that the Cody Rhodes storyline feels like, which, by the way, I'll tell you again, I told you last year when you and I were just friends, none of Cody Rhodes' story is Cody Rhodes' story. It's all Roman Reigns' story.
I agree with that.
Everything in the WWE is Roman Reigns' story. Like, it's very confusing that the fan base doesn't get that. It's not about Cody Rhodes. It's not about Cody Rhodes finishing his story at WrestleMania, because Cody Rhodes will win at WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes will become the WWE champion. And then what's going to happen? At SummerSlam in Cleveland, Roman Reigns will fight The Rock, because The Rock failed him at WrestleMania. And it will be the best. It will be the absolute best. And Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes will fight in some sort of unification of the title. You'll hear some of that stuff. Or maybe Drew McIntyre takes it from a WrestleMania, and he gets that WrestleMania moment that he should have earned when he was in the, help me out, whatever they're calling it down there, the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome,
You know, maybe all that stuff happens. Like, that's great if it does. But the problem with Cody Rhodes' story is because they're modifying it to this longer story. As I see the story, as they're doing that, they didn't close the door in his story correctly to get here. They didn't close the store. You know, if you'd have done and you can't waste The Rock's return on Fox, no offense to Fox, you can't waste his return in Cody, I tell you what, I'll wrestle you for it. Because if they'd done I'll wrestle you for it, that would have worked.
Yeah.
You could have figured that, but you can't, because the money doesn't work like that. Because when I'm at WrestleMania on Saturday night, watching his tag team against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, his tag team with Roman Reigns, This is me. Nom 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 nom.
Eating it up. Yo. So yeah, like this is so for those of us who are listening on Saturday morning,
Yeah.
or for those who are joining the chat, listening on us live as we're taping this right now, these are the things that weigh on us as we're in the industry. We are all for storytelling because
Yeah.
and we're all for keeping the story as honest as possible with you, our fans, or even those who just wants to watch and just critique. Like for those, like we are constantly feeling the weight of what's next, how can we get there at best, and more importantly, because it's a business, how can we cash in on this? How can we make this a good opportunity to make more money so that we keep feeding our product, we keep feeding our business?
And those stories you're talking about, how to stagger them, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you have one story that starts WrestleMania, you have to also have a story that's concluding at WrestleMania. You have to also have a story that started at Fastlane or whatever the one before WrestleMania is called. Elimination Chamber, I guess now. An Elimination Chamber that's going to go up until Survivor Series. And you have to have one that's going to start at SummerSlam that's going to go to the Royal Rumble. And you have to constantly be building them, staggered so that you're not just keeping me for the end of the Cody Rhodes storyline. I'm now catching the beginning of the Chad Gable storyline. Like I'm now you got me again. Like, oh, good job. There's no reason for me not to tune into the Raw after WrestleMania. I want to see Charlotte Flair return. The Sasha Banks stuff isn't going to happen. She just popped her head out in AEW. Good for her.
Mercedes Bonet.
Signed for months.
CEO. It was like
that energy.
It was like, yo, that crowd was hot. I loved it.
It was super loved it. But it's kind of intense to me how you're able to grab those opportunities and then tell stories with them. We'll give you a DCCW story real quick. One of our performers, a guy I really like, his name's Jerry Vendetta. He's wild good. And he's wild good at being a bad dude. We got some factions in Duke City Championship Wrestling, right? We got La Migra, and that's the guys from Texas, and they come in and they're bullish, and it seems like all the heels jump in and help them all the time. And then we have locally, whatever that means, right? We got Matthew Robles and MK, and that's the stuff. You're in the mix on that thing.
MK Army, baby.
And Jerry will jump out every so often and do bad guy stuff because he's got to do bad guy stuff. But Jerry is as good as a walk-alone heel as you can find in the game, right? So Jerry, we're sitting down one day for lunch. Jerry's like, hey, homie, that skeleton, I'm trying to mess that skeleton up. I'm like, yes. Okay. Like you don't tell me, show me, right? So Jerry, who we're working on a storyline for, right? So we're working on a storyline for Jerry. Jerry, who's just come out and beat up good guys and gets booed, and that's good. He whoops a plastic skeleton. He does an improv match. We had 8 matches advertised that night. There was a 9th one. He beat up a plastic skeleton.
That's so great.
He whoops homie, breaks him in half, literally breaks the spine of homie. And before you know it, I'm writing out a storyline with funerals for skeletons. There's a Karate Kid-ass dancing skeletons in the walkway. We're at the last event. The lights go out. Everyone's like, oh, the El Rey sucks. No, not the El Rey sucks. There's a skeleton coming, y'all. Me and you on broadcast, and we're like, no. Because Jerry seized a moment, right? He got a crowd to boo him because he beat up a Halloween decoration. Are you kidding me?
Hey, man. The Halloween decorations as a hero, apparently.
Homie the hero is real.
Homie the hero.
Hey, you know what I'll do because you just said that? I'll put a damn red cape on the skeleton when he comes out to wrestle. when Jerry and the skeleton finally have to go toe to toe with each other, toe to bone. I guess it's
the flesh and bones match.
It's so fun to me. That's the thing, though, right? Because you can create those narratives, you can create those storylines. We're doing a lot of creative things on the back end, and to be able to stagger, to tell, and then to improvise what you're doing takes so much effort. And then what we had planned to do with Jerry. There's another guy in the mix right now. Not to give all the back of the house stuff, right? But that stuff we had originally lined up. So someone else stepped up. Next man.
Loved it.
Yeah, just a world of talent and I don't know, tremendous little Monday night. Cause like I said, Sami Zayn went to social media and was like, I don't know what your problem is with. Not the way I necessarily would have handled it. Cause
Booker T spoke on his behalf.
I
and then
saw
talked
that.
about it.
How do
Yeah.
you feel about that?
Well, that's two friends, but one of them, the OG, talking about like, you know, like one of his friends also who's also talent, because Booker T has his own promotion too, and he
Yeah.
deals with this himself. You know, but Sami Zayn talking about the frustration he got that the fans weren't warmly receptive
Right.
to his victory over Chad Gable, and you know that's which crowd are we supposed to appease? You know, the live or the internet?
The internet's an interesting one. Let's dive into that when we get back, because that's a really good point. Let's talk about the importance of fan bases, because I think they all have value across every platform. But let's talk about the actuality of how you approach it. You're Saleh Taylor. I'm Fred Slow, and this is Going Over on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to Going Over. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Alongside me, Saleh Taylor. Saleh, before the break, we were talking a little bit about what fan base do you hearken to help, right? Which fan base, how do you tier it? How do you make it important?
There we go. Yeah.
Right.
What's the priority?
What is the priority? How in the world of medicine, it's called triage, right? Triage.
Yes. Prioritize on the fly.
Yeah. And I think everyone gets effort, right? I think it's important. I don't just mean the fans in attendance. I don't just mean the fans online. I don't just mean the fans who buy tickets or don't buy tickets, or buy merch or don't buy merch, or create their own memes or their own fan pages, or they're the ones that come solely to boo you, solely, yeah. or even the opposite guy who goes online and says, you guys suck. I'm not sure why, but you do. Here's this is a little sidekick, Sully. You and I have told this joke. When Duke City Championship Wrestling first started, May last year, right? Very first show, May of 23, May of 23. All the little articles around town. The rebirth of wrestling in Albuquerque. Wrestling's back, baby. Let's go. Wrestling Monthly at the historic El Rey. We couldn't be more jazzed. We get 6 months in. Has Duke City Championship Wrestling jumped the shark? Is it over for Duke City Championship?
It's overnight.
Have they lost connection with their fan base? Hey, here we are 9 months later. Almost a year. We're almost a year later.
Why is DCCW still a thing?
Yeah. Can they find the momentum they once had? Well, are you just getting clicks? What is the game here? Because I know the people writing these articles. I see the bylines. I see the social media posts. I know you're not at the shows. I know you're not, because I'm there. Been in every one. It blows my mind how these opinions are out there. And they are, Saleh. They're out there in abundance, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think you create a product. I'll use our product.
Okay.
You create a product that looks really good on the internet. You create it. We have a live wrestling promotion. What we really have is a TV show. And we make it. We put it out there for people, and we let them absorb the content the way that they deem best. If they want it on their cell phone, they watch it there, their laptop, their iPad. I watch it on that 65-inch TV hanging up right there on the wall.
A little humble brag there. Go ahead, man.
Well, I mean, it's RCA. I'm a big fan. I'm not a big fan of a lot of companies. I'm a big RCA guy.
I'm a Samsung dude.
Well, Polynesian in you.
Yeah, man.
But to me, after you create a product, however it's absorbed is up to the individual who wants to absorb it, right? And I can't tell you how to react to that. I can't tell you how to feel to that. I can't tell you what to do with that. I feel it's different in person. Yes. We're putting out a bunch of posters for Duke City Championship Wrestling right now for all of our sponsors. We're so fortunate. We got a bunch of them. We just signed a new one the other day at the shop. Hey, also, welcome to Duke City Championship Wrestling, the shop.
Where's the shop, baby? We love you, man.
Okay. So I'm going through to put snapshots of wrestlers. You're on some of this stuff. I'm putting snapshots of wrestlers on some of these posters, and we're putting them up around town. And we're doing all this stuff. And I'm going through all Rusty Rutherford's. I know I'm on one right now. I'm sorry. Tell me to shut up when the time comes.
Keep going, man.
I'm going through Rusty Rutherford's portfolio that he sends me. He's our official photographer. He's the world of talent. He also moonlights as a comedian, but I'm going to tell you right now, he's a pro wrestling photographer. That's this dude's calling in life. Yeah. I see all these photos. Of fans, because he does a really good job of capturing that. And it's the loudest cheers and it's the loudest jeers and it's children experiencing pro wrestling for the first time, and it's adults that are suspending disbelief, that are forgetting they have to be at work at 9 a.m, that are having a chance to play the game that you, I, and everyone at Duke City Championship Wrestling has created them to play in. And it's so amazing and special. And that's the audience, in my opinion, that matters. That's the audience, in my opinion, that you go out there and create for. Because you can almost control what they're doing in the building. Almost.
So you're saying the audience is more engaged, the audience is participating, the audience
invested.
That's invested.
You know what your $20 is to me? A promise that you're going to go just as hard as I'm going to go for you. That's a big deal to me.
That is actually huge. Yeah, that makes sense. So I would say, yeah, that's a good priority, because those who are invested, everyone that's in our chat, we also have Mr. Happy, one of our talented professional wrestlers that we have here. And shout out to the Warriors. And Turbo Tony's here too, man. And homie. So, homie has a page. It's so dope.
So weird.
Homie's a hero, baby. No, like everyone that's engaged in our chat, from going over to even the real show. Yes, I'll be honest. Yeah, I play to y'all. I play to you. When I am walking out when I'm, if I get the chance, get to take part in a match or anything like that, and I feel like I feel everywhere. I got my first big anti-Sale chant last week, and
people hate you.
Oh, so much fun. But like when I hear the individuals though, like, really trying to go after me and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this next thing's for you. Those who are not just inside but also invested, in those who are partaking part of it. It's really, really hard to go to a show, to one of our shows, or even like, was the Phase 1 Pro.
Yeah, in Rio Rancho last week. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Going to any live professional wrestling event and just sit and not partake.
Right.
You actually have to try to not partake. So like for those of you who are already in there sitting down and are really just like going at it and shouting your lungs out, we're all like, yeah, this one's for you, man. This one's for you.
And I agree. We talk a little bit about that online audience, right? The online audience, they're also part of the live audience.
Oh,
the live audience absorbs the product online. Like, that's how you think they became a fan of the product. And as they become a fan, and I don't ever show I'm not going to show it, but so like the back end, right, of all of our social media stuff, it shows you where people are looking from. It shows you the other people want to interact with you. There's too much information, actually, if I'm going to be honest.
That's fair.
But we regularly, every day, if it's a promotion across the country or a performer across the country or part of a fan base across the country, they say, hey, everyone, take a look at what these guys are doing. And then you get a bunch of people that are really supportive. And then you get a handful of people. You get a handful of people that go, well, this sucks because it's not my exact expectation. You go, oh, that's wild. That's wild. It's not your exact expectation. I'm sorry that Chad Gable didn't win the gauntlet. This thing doesn't suck. It doesn't suck because Chad Gable didn't win. It's still really good. Now, it's not the thing you wanted. And if our only job, and I think this is our only job in the world of pro wrestling, is to solicit emotional response, what have we done for you? We've done that. Like, you become so angered that you jeer. Good. Congratulations to me.
Yes.
I'd love for you to go home happy every day. I would love that. Can't do it. Got to go home happy sometimes. Now, I'm not going to send you home mad every time. That's stupid. But what I am going to do is I'm going to set the plate the way you were describing the chase. I'm going to set the chase so tremendously enough. By the time we do get to the payoff, you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss the next show. The next show could be the payoff.
Yeah.
That's why we're all here. It's a good swerve in pro wrestling is as good as any HBO series. It's as good as The Sopranos. It's as good as Boardwalk Empire. It's as good as Game of Thrones. I don't know what's on currently. I don't watch a lot of TV.
Like, it's very dated yourself, man.
I really tried.
Like the Golden Girls is very as good as. So here's a beautiful thing about it. I am grateful that the top two companies right now, WWE and AEW, are now in a better position that they can adjust.
Yeah.
And if it was like even 3 years ago, they're like, no, we have a storyline, we have plans, this needs to happen. Right now, within the last year or two, you've seen that they're starting to listen more, pay attention. One of the biggest examples of that, when The Rock came back and Cody gave his spot up to him, the crowd loved it that The Rock was there, but then the internet went insane.
Yeah.
And then, which became a blessing in disguise, because now we have Hollywood heel Rock, and he's
First
back,
time in 20 years.
and he's killing it, man. It's like, this is actually how The Rock's supposed to be right now, And
Well, yeah.
Cody-
Well, and to piggyback, I'm telling you, that reaction's not coming as a surprise to the writing room at the World Wrestling Entertainment. Like, it's not. Like, there's always two. Hey, if it goes this way, what are we writing? Hey, if it goes the other way, what are we writing? That's it. Like, there's two. There's
yeah,
this many. There's two. And I don't understand what the fan thinks they're in control of, because they're not. What's a good example of a game? Putt golf, right? You take your shot, it goes in, you go into the next hole. Take a shot, it's just wide, you just got to putt one more time. Still going to go in, still going to get to the next hole. And it's not the hole that dictates this. Like, figure it out. Go over for your audience in attendance and create the best product you can create for your audience online. I would also say this too, like, if you're in official capacity, tread real lightly on interacting with people that are only trying to incite you. It's weird to me when I won't use Duke City Championship Wrestling. I'll use, I see doing it all the time on social media is some female performers for WWE.
Yeah.
If the fan is saying you suck, they're not doing that because you suck. They're doing it because they want you to interact with them. I know this. I've been on radio for 20 years. You know how many "you suck" text I get? Not to my number, to the Sports Animal text line, 505-246-0610. But they come in, they say, "Right, you don't know anything about the history of high school basketball in Albuquerque." On the nose, brother. Like, you got me. You picked the one niche thing. Liv Morgan, I can't believe you can't do a double Hurricane Rana off Nia Jax while she's being held up in the air by Charlotte Flair.
Word?
Really? That's wild.
Oh, snap.
That's wild.
Say word. So here's the thing about that, though. Like, social media, you got Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder. He has legitimately saved his life, saved his career by utilizing social media and engaging to an extent.
Yeah, he's the internet champ, remember?
Yeah, and he just knows how to utilize the internet to his benefit.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
but
that comes to engagement, though.
Yeah, well, I agree. Interactions, likes, shares, repeats, reviews, 5 stars, all those things matter. Updates. Give me as many updates as you can have. I think, okay.
Yeah.
The GCW is an interesting one, right? The people at the top of GCW, they're different cats.
Yeah, they are.
There's some different cats. And I'm a big second chance guy. Like, you serve your time, you get your life right. Let's go. Like, I'm in support of you going. We've had some people on our promotion, Duke City Championship Wrestling, that have had some run-ins historically with the law. And you know what we do? We welcome them with open arms when they've paid their dues, when they've been rehabilitated. Let's go. Let's do that thing. GCW needed Matt Cardona. They needed him.
I agree.
He put a level of validity to that organization. He did do that weird blood match. That's a whole nother thing with Nick Cage. I'm not into that stuff. I know there's a certain audience.
New death match. He's the new king of the death match.
That stuff's not for me.
Yeah.
And
neither.
No. And, I can have an opinion, and I think the definition between opinion and bully is this. You can have your opinion, it's fine. Once you try to convince someone else to have your opinion about something else, specifically as it relates to negative, that's when you're bullying. It's okay for me to not like Saleh. That's fine. It's not okay for me to try to convince someone else to not like Saleh.
Off of your
That's when it gets weird.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when mental health comes into question.
So as we're like trying to navigate this beautiful thing called professional wrestling and independent pro wrestling, like what are some of the more unique challenges for such a small market, but at the same time we're doing all right. We're doing okay with our market. Like what are some of the more unique challenges that you are facing?
Like right now, currently?
Yeah.
The interesting one is we kind of have to manage the we had Brian Idol in last month, right? You met Brian, he was tremendous.
Very, very professional, very awesome.
You were part of his event when he was wrestling Hobo Hank here at Duke City Championship Wrestling. So we sat down after the show, and this little inside pro wrestling right here. This is belly to belly. No, that's a suplex. This is belly to table as we're sitting at the frontier.
I just imagine you and Brian Idol just like talking belly to belly now.
Brother.
Oh, right, bro.
So as we're at the frontier and we're talking shop, we're talking about what? Duke City Championship Wrestling, because Brian obviously works for NWA, and Brian wrestles all over the world. And Brian has been in the game for over 20 years, and he kind of has a clue. As we sit down, he says, first thing he says to me, "Are you making a pro wrestling show for the El Rey? Are you making a pro wrestling show for YouTube?" And I go, "Oh, damn. Like pop quiz.
Ooh.
He's like, the YouTube doesn't matter until you maximize the El Rey. He's like, YouTube's great. You're not making a TV show. He said, what do we have? Just over, I think we had like 2 people over 500 at the last show, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, you got 500 people in attendance here. Take care of them. They're taking care of you. Take care of them. He's like, find different ways to reach out. He's like, cool, 50-50 drawing. He's like, why don't you raffle off a car? I'm like, why don't I raffle off a car? Like, let's go find a car sponsor. We could do that. He's like, hey, fans want posters. Why don't you sign your posters? You're right. I'm over here thinking they only want t-shirts. I know they want t-shirts. They're buying Thunders. They're buying Tommy Two Scoops. They're buying Duke City Championship Wrestling. They're buying t-shirts. I was like, that's what they want, t-shirts. He's like, that's all you're offering. Let's sell posters. Oh, shoot. If I send you if we do that production meeting every day, I know we got to go to break. I'm sorry. We do that production meeting every day. At the beginning of an event, hey guys, 10 posters. We need everyone to sign them. A fan wants that.
Yeah.
And I'm over here worried about lighting on the YouTube. By the way, lighting on the YouTube is pretty good right now.
We appreciate you, Bridget.
Yeah. So many non-wrestlers going to the production of wrestling. But that's one of the challenges, I think, for this media market size thing. Where we get a bunch of offers in town. We get a bunch of, hey, come half a mile from where you regularly perform at the El Rey and put on a show. Do a box show. Our Albuquerque home's the El Rey. If you're going to get us out, our Albuquerque home is the El Rey. We're going to go to Taos. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go to Las Cruces, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. That announcement comes Monday. That's when we're putting out the ticket link.
Ooh.
That's going to be a lot of fun because those parts of the country, those parts of the state, they don't live here. We'll go to you. Maybe we'll entice you. Maybe you can come to us eventually. But if you want Duke City Championship Wrestling to come to your ballroom, or if you want Duke City Championship Wrestling to set up in your backyard, or if you want Duke City, we're not those guys. We're at the El Rey. This is an El Rey show. It's as much a part of the storyline as anything. In my opinion, Sully. We'll step away to come back. We have to reset because of the break. More pro wrestling talk. After the commercial, it's 2 Men On, 95.9 FM and AM 610. The Sports Animal. Welcome back to the program. Welcome back to Going Over. I'm Fred Slow alongside me, Saleh Taylor. We're having a lot of fun talking pro wrestling, the world of it, WWE, AEW, obviously Duke City Championship Wrestling, which I know I have to say this like legally every time. I own that.
Yes.
If you go to dccwtickets.com and buy a ticket, that money goes in daddy's pockets. If you go to dccwstore.com and buy apparel, that money goes in daddy's pockets. Keep that in mind. This thing is mine. Cool.
But let's also be real, though, about this, too. A lot of the money that goes in your pockets goes back into the product because you are continually wanting this to grow. That's not.
You say a lot? It's every dollar.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What do you mean, pretty much? I have negative dollars from this thing currently.
But we love it. We do it because we love you, man.
Ugh.
You know.
That's an interesting part of this thing, right? Because it's what does it take to start a pro wrestling promotion? If you'd asked me in March of last year when we sat down and started having these talks, I said, I don't know. You asked me in March of this year, I would have said a lot more than you think. It's wild. You know, we don't have on our staff that we need psychiatrists. That's like the one thing we don't have that we need for everyone. All right, guys, go air your grievances here. Just
Well,
give them over.
I've been trying to do that for you, but you refuse to let me in.
Oh,
Fred.
I'm the worst, dude.
Yeah, like Fred, how you doing? Regular. Whatever. It's like you have a scissors, just sticking out of your leg. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I never complained.
That's me all day. Like, isn't that funny how I'm like that? Like, because if it's not like a forward momentum thing, I'm not in. It's not my thing. Like, ask me how I'm doing. You mean like reflect on yesterday? I don't have time. I'm going the other direction. I got to go this way. I got to play in a celebrity soccer tournament this weekend. I got to pick the youth of the year for Big Brothers Big Sister, or excuse me, for the Boys and Girls Club. Why did I mess that up? I know the difference.
Yeah,
I got to go. Yeah, right. Well, I'm on the board at the Y. No, this is one of the things. So I'm on the board at the YMCA.
So many things.
Yeah, and then the Boys and Girls Club was like, "Hey, Fred, thanks for being so cool in the community. Can you help us pick the youth of the year?" Yeah, I can do that. Hey, Fred, can you play in I asked Mr. Happy to play in a celebrity soccer game with me over the weekend. Mr. Happy says, I'm actually a wrestler. I was like, you're famous. Come play in this thing with me. I really want you to. He's like, sorry, dude. I'm like, I'm a pro wrestler. I'm not messy. Oh, okay. So I'd ask you, Saleh, except, the obvious reasons.
I ain't got time.
No, you're no good at soccer. You suck at soccer.
Want to bet?
Yeah,
I was a good kind of bad.
There's mascots in the game too, so they're the goalies. So it's not even like you can cop out and play like a goalie spot. We're doing that in Mexico Runners.
That's so
Santa Ana Thunder started last night. They have a game tonight. That's brand new pro basketball league here in Albuquerque. There's so much going on here in town. Part of the wave, my man. Part of the wave.
I think it started with a little group called DCCW. A little group that had a plan and a prayer and a plan.
Shoot, and we all threw in a couple grand and said, "Let's go." Here we are.
And here we are.
We're talking a little bit about the internet community, the internet wrestling community. We're talking about evolving storylines in the world of pro wrestling, and with that, sometimes I hearken on the negative, right? I do this all the time. I'm like, well, hey, here's why you should keep your blinders on. Here's why you shouldn't reflect on the past. Here's why you should stay, laser focused forward. We're doing our live stream for the recording of the Saturday morning show. In this, also a friend of the show and performer for Duke City Championship Wrestling, Tommy Two Scoops. He just mentioned the Ice Wolves. The Ice Wolves are tremendous. That's the developmental. That's the NHAL league here in town. So it's kids that all go on to D1 of professional hockey. I broadcast for them before. They're tremendous. There's Jason Thomas, the voice of them. He comes out and supports. We got our wrestlers go out there and watch the. Also, the ownership group of that, the Hubbards, they're tremendous. There's like really good ownership in town too. But with that said, we're talking about the internet. So because I only put on this hyper focus to the negative, and I'm like, trust your system, stay in your lane, create the product you want, like ignore weirdos. As we're in the live chat recording for the Saturday morning show, there's multiple fan pages for what we do in here right now. There's Duke City Warriors in here. They've been fan pages since day one. Homie is in here. And there's these tremendous individuals. We posted about the shop yesterday. Brand new sponsor, Duke City Championship Wrestling. You know who went to eat at the shop today? Duke City Championship Wrestling fan. Support the sponsors.
Some of our wrestlers were there too today.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, were they?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, that community has as much growing power as it does tormenting power. And it's about making sure that you're utilizing they and doing what, Sally? Giving to they. Like making sure that they're supported the way that they're supporting you. They're $20 for a ticket when they do come to the show. We're going to give you that much in value.
We're
going to give you more.
I just realized I'm on the poster. I got to go there and sign it. but I'm gonna sign over someone else's face. That just feels right.
You're on several posters.
I am.
Yeah. I
I'm
haven't
so
showed you these.
honored.
All right, do a little filler. I want to pull up these posters for you real quick.
So here's a cool thing about the things that I love about our fans. One, y'all keep us honest. Oh man, I can't tell you how beautiful and scary it is as a performer. I think Mr. Happy touched on this earlier in the chat. Everyone needs to know and understand right before we cross the curtain onto the stage how insanely nervous we are because we don't know how you're going to react every time.
Oh, it's wild.
But but every time we cross that curtain, every time we cross the gorilla position, y'all show up and y'all are so vocal. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
All right, I'm going to try to, and this is not the best AM radio of all time, but I'm going to try to make this thing work the way that I know for it to work. So, Sally, so we have a bunch of really proud sponsors, right? And the idea is, how do we thank them for being a part of what we're doing? You know, how do we thank them for being so very crucial in the, you know, in the world of pro wrestling? And here's how. So we went through, and the shop is a new sponsor, right? Let me know you can see this pretty clearly.
Ooh, look good. Look
Right?
at that. Looky.
So there's 10 of the talent of Duke City Championship Wrestling right here, right? So at the top, there's like a plethora of performers. We sneak in Tommy and Turbo Tony, Adam Merrick, the voice of Duke City Championship Wrestling right here in the corner. And that's for the shop, right? So we're moving down. Here's one for the paper. You know what I mean? It's an entirely different catalog of entertainers. Veronica
there
Vegas,
you are.
Me in the corner. Hobo Hank, Thunder. Everyone hates Tyler Copeland. Brian Idol, very top. Put him right in center. Chewy's terrible. He looks great on this poster. You know, there's like a ton of. Here's the one for the Duke store, right? Like the idea is like there is a different flavor of this pro wrestling for every single person who is excited about pro wrestling. I snuck Man High in here. I don't know if you can see that. Real itty bitty.
They could be smaller.
Yeah. And Helica Risk. If I could have made her bigger on the poster, I would have. That girl is money in the world of pro wrestling. Like there's Jacob Fatu representing the brand, right? The idea is like, how do you get so many individuals that are so unique to life where the internet can't ignore them? You know, that's what we're currently doing. Ming Chen from Comic Book Men is Duke City.
Ming Chen. That's still so amazing.
Who's this cat right here at the very bottom? Who's
Oh,
right
man. Oh, man.
Wale Taylor playing his keytar.
That didn't work on the day. Thank you.
Yeah, the Rep Kyle. Like, there's so much Charlie 50. There's so much talent here. Lilith Grimm. And it's, to me, just wildly impressive that it doesn't matter where you're from or what you're about or what you're doing. You can relate to someone in the fan base. You can relate to someone in the live chat. You can relate to someone on the internet, someone in the building. It's wild. It's so impressive to me that this form of media is so versatile that fans will support it because they identify with it, or they'll hate it because they identify with it.
That part.
No matter what, it's perfect. No matter what.
So, just to change gears real quick, because we're talking about the love of our fans, the love of our, everyone, and talking about the internet. Big news coming out from his very own podcast, coming from the man himself.
Yep.
Good old JR, Jim Ross.
Oh, we wrap up on a weird one.
Announcing that he'll be retiring. Now, this man has voiced matches for a few generations, man.
My entire life.
And like, I was feeling some kind of way hearing about this, but he'll be retiring from commentary this year.
Well, I think he's still going to stick around and do some sort of talent relation stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, he'll still be doing talent stuff, but he will minimize his time on screen, minimize his voice on screen. He just wants to rest and just take a bigger role in the backstage.
My God!
That man has a family. Like that. Like, seriously, one of the most iconic calls ever. And he's one of the people that I've always respected as, from
a special run him and Jerry the King Lawler had for all those years. Yeah, just wow. There's some tag teams, Mike Tenay and Tony Schiavone, I thought was a very important tag team for a long time. Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan Thought it was a very important tag team for a long time. I think you're currently seeing one real special in Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. I think it's
They are
very
killing.
good in its own way.
Yes.
JR has done it with a lot of people, and they all have been better for doing it with he. And it is a lost voice to the world of pro wrestling, at least on screen. And a lot of people have imitated it. I have tried not to. It's hard not to call some of these moves you see some of the most famous names of moves. But yeah, JR, the example for the class, I think not just of on-screen presence, but professionalism in a world of weirdos in professional wrestling.
Yes. So like we're both on screen and on air talents for DCCW, and we are, there's always seemed to be like you need a balance. You need someone to call it straight, and then you need someone to add a little flavor to it. Not
Correct.
flavor, color to
Yeah.
it, because sometimes someone just calling the match as is, as informative as it is, in a world of weirdos, as you say,
Yeah.
like you need that color. JR haven't found his voice, haven't found his style. Because remember, it was JR and Jerry King Lawler for a long time, and those two haven't been such an iconic duo. It's so hard to try and recreate that, but like they're following a format. They're following.
Yeah. Well, and the other one was, Paulie Dangerously. When Paul Heyman was there with him as well. It was just wildly talented and familiar. Also on a personal note, and I don't know how much this is going to relate to the audience, but like I'm a Bell's palsy survivor. Like my face gave up on me. Like I feel you, JR. Like,
oh man,
it was, and people, like when I pointed out, people see it, but like my face doesn't smile the same way all over, right? Like my eyes are a lot better than they used to be. But I mean, there's a time when you're like, oh, well, JR could do it. Like, I mean, I'll no matter what, I'll be fine. Like, look at JR. So that was just like a weird inspirational one to me when my face gave up.
That's got to be crazy. And you powered through, man. Good on you, bro. Good on you, man.
As handsome as I ever been. Well, except before I had Bell's palsy. That was a way better life.
I think some may say it might have been an improvement, I guess. So.
Not kind, Saleh Taylor. Not kind.
I think that was a little bit for tail.
I went out to the Hibachi Grill the other night for dinner, Saleh. I run into a Duke City Championship Wrestling fan. Legitimately, him and his family are watching Duke City Championship Wrestling on their phone as I walk in. And I see Matthew Robles on there. And I say, hey, what are you watching? The guy's like, oh, man, Duke City Championship Wrestling. This is the business. And I'm like, oh, wild. I own that. And he's like, I know, I know you. This and that. Awesome. So then he leans into me and says, so is Saleh, is he like actually nice?
Nope.
Yeah, can't call it, bro. Just it's nice to me when I'm paying him.
It's a roll of the dice, baby.
Keep it kayfabe. Final word, Saleh, before we let this one go.
I love our people. I love our fans. I love our sponsors. Everyone that's keeping us going. Everyone that's just keeping a roof over our heads, man, in every way. I cannot thank you enough.
For Saleh Taylor, for myself, Fred Slow, everyone here going over. It's just the two of us. Good job, everyone. GG.